Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with me today. I've prepared another presentation for you today, and this is going to be part 3 of UFO crash retrievals, and this is going to be the thorough examination into the Leonard Stringfield cases. And I really want to go ahead and start the presentation. We've got a lot to cover here, and the first case is Norton Air Force Base, and this is 1973. This has to do with an Air Force photographer. And this is UFO crash retrievals, page 160, case 14 by Leonard Stringfield. So this photographer was based in Hawaii, and he had his security clearance upgraded. And so he was flown from Hawaii to Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino, California, where he joined another photographer. They were put on an Air Force car and driven 2 hours from Norton Air Force Base to a location that he didn't know what it was. So this Air Force car stops, and then a platform drops down. So the car is now dropping down to an underground facility. So both of these photographers, they get out, and they're told to go into this room, and they're told that they're going to be photographing a UFO and also 3 alien cadavers that are in the process of being autopsied. So they get into these biological smocks with combat boots on. And I'll go ahead and move forward here. And this is what they see when they get to this underground facility. They see a large crane that was supporting by this netting, this 30-foot diameter dish-shaped craft. And they were just shocked and stunned by what they were seeing here. So now if you look kind of on the right-hand corner of this dish-shaped craft, you'll see this entryway hatch. And in this entryway hatch, they're actually brought inside this craft itself. And keep in mind, this craft is 30 feet in diameter. And when this particular witness got into the craft, he said, quote unquote, "I could have thrown a football as hard as I could and not hit the other side." So there was something going on within this craft, some type of time warp, space continuum. The fabric of space-time was being warped, something, but it was only 30 feet in diameter. But when he got inside, he said that he could have thrown a football as hard as he could and not hit the other side. And this was being supported by netting on a crane. Now, his job, once he got inside the craft, was to photograph all the display panels, the buttons, the switches, the dials, the levers. There were other people in there too. So I asked my good friend Rudy, this is a drawing by Rudy Gardea, to go ahead and do a detail view, which you see on the upper left-hand corner here, of a cavernous interior, something that looks much larger than 30 feet in diameter, just a cavernous interior. So here you see he's photographing these different display panels. And then off to the right, you can see that they're performing this autopsy. So this, in a nutshell, is the case from 1973. And I'm going to move forward here. And we'll go back just a second here. Now, of course, we've all heard that these underground facilities are connected via tube shuttle system, underground high-speed tube shuttle system. So is there any evidence for this? So I started digging, and I came up with this article. This is from the Los Angeles Times, June 11th, 1972, tube shuttle using electromagnetic suspension. And very interesting here. We'll do the headline. LA to New York in half an hour. 10,000-mile-an-hour tube train plan developed. Again, Los Angeles Times, June 11th, 1972. And they do kind of a detailed view of what's going on here. And I'll move forward here to get you the detailed view. And now you can see that what they're doing is they've got these gondolas and they've got a vacuum tube. So they're sucking out all the air, and then they're using liquid hydrogen, liquid helium to super chill the bottom of these gondolas. And then they're using electromagnetic suspension to speed these tube shuttles down these tubes at 10,000 miles an hour. And again, if we back up, this is again from 1972. Now, do we have any further evidence to support this? Is there any further evidence that we can come up with that can actually support this other than a Los Angeles Times article, which is referenced from a RAND Corporation article? So again, I started digging and I came up with this article. This is interesting. I'm going to turn myself off here so you can see this. This is Project RAND, Proceedings of the Second Protective Construction Symposium, Deep Underground Construction, Volume 2. The date for this is March 24th, 25th, 26th, 1959. Document R-341 by the RAND Corporation. Now, if you go into this document, and I'm going to forward here, just going to read this couple of sentences here. Just as airplanes, ships, and automobiles have given man mastery of the surface of the earth, tunnel boring machines and shaft sinkers will give him access to the subterranean world. It is our aim to provide machines which will supply the ever-increasing demand in mining and construction of underground facilities. So if you look at the date here on the upper right-hand corner, it's 3/26/59. By 1959, they're already talking about tunnel boring machines, shaft sinkers, and this just being as common as airplanes, ships, and automobiles. That's the way they're thinking in 1959. 2022, you know they have just made a tremendous amount of progress with these underground facilities, these underground tunnels. They are absolutely crisscrossing the United States, connecting NORAD, connecting Eglin Air Force Base, all over the country. It's very clear at this point that they have developed a series and network of underground tunnels, no doubt about it. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next case here. Now, just to wrap up this one, this is a very good illustration by my good friend Joseph Wraith showing you the autopsy from this 1973 case. Now, within the Leonard Stringfield collection, they indicated that the bodies in this case from 1973 at this underground facility were about 5 feet tall, and they were originally wearing a one-piece tight-fitting blue flight suit. But in the autopsy operation, they had this, you could call it very white pasty skin that looked like baking powder. That's how they were described. So he's done a very good job indicating what this autopsy may have looked like back in 1973 at this underground facility. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next case here. This is McClellan Air Force Base, 1973. Sources UFO crash retrievals, page 153, case 3 by Leonard Stringfield. There is absolutely something going on at McClellan Air Force Base, and we've got double independent confirmation indicating that something strange is going on at this base. I'm going to move forward here and let's find out if we can get some insight here. Now, what you're looking at is a photograph of a very famous test pilot who later became an astronaut. And I think everyone here either should know or does know about this particular astronaut. This is U.S. Air Force test pilot Ellison Onizuka. Now, here he is as a test pilot. And I'm going to move forward here and get into this case. So it's 1973, and he is at McClellan Air Force Base. And these test pilots, they go into this pilot briefing room. There's about 12 pilots there. And then there's a high-level military brass who's standing behind a movie projector. And these pilots don't know what's going on here. So this high-level military personnel turns on this projector, and projected on this forward wall is a stunning image. It's a black and white movie. It's relatively short in length. This has been seen at other locations around the United States, other military Air Force bases. And what it showed were 2 alien corpses on slabs being autopsies. And Ellison Onizuka was thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on. This was told by Chris Coffey, who got this information. Now, Leonard Stringfield was scheduled to interview Ellison Onizuka. But as you know, something interesting happened here. Now, this is a report from Tuesday, August 19th, 2014 from Open Minds. Witness says that top secret UFO library existed at McClellan Air Force Base. David Armstrong claims his aunt used to work for a top secret UFO records library at McClellan Air Force Base. In his 20s, Armstrong went to visit her, and knowing he had an interest in the subject, Armstrong says his aunt let him take a look at the files. In this video, Armstrong recounts what he claims to have seen in those files, including images of extraterrestrial spacecraft and alien beings. So this is from Open Minds. Credit goes to Open Minds for this particular reference here. So now we've got two sources indicating that something interesting is going on, and some type of a historical research library is based at McClellan Air Force Base. Now, literally 2 weeks before Leonard Stringfield was going to interview astronaut Elizan Onizuka, the Challenger accident happened, and we lost this astronaut and our 7 astronauts, including teacher Krista McCullough. And I'm sure you all are familiar with this. This is January 28th, 1986. So we were within 2 weeks of getting his testimony, but he was lost in the Challenger accident. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next case here. So this is reference number 39, another case within the Leonard Stringfield dictation notes. I'll go ahead and turn myself off here. Reference 39, according to Bette Schilling, an Air Force officer told her details regarding a UFO that crashed in the Ohio area during 1973 or 1974. The source indicated that 3 bodies were recovered, which were brought back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Isn't that interesting? All roads seem to lead back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The source also indicated that one of the aliens was still alive, we've heard that before, and lived for an additional week after the retrieval operation. Source, Air Force officer via Bette Schilling, date 1973 or 1974. Next case, this is a bizarre case. This happened at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, 1974. Source, UFO crash retrievals, page 327. Now, this concerns a woman who was an artist, and she was hired by her uncle to be an artist at a facility that he was working at in Cincinnati area. And the person that interviewed this woman who was an artist was a man by the name of Mr. Kern. So she has this interview with Mr. Kern, and she gets the job. So the interview went well, she gets the job. And then she has 2 weeks to give her 2 weeks notice. And so she's kind of in this holding pattern. And then she goes to a dinner party. And wouldn't you know it, this Mr. Kern attends the dinner party. And so the subject of UFOs came up, as it sometimes does. And so they're talking about UFOs and everything. And so this Mr. Kern that you see here on the right-hand side, he kind of turns to the new hire here and says, would you like to see an alien body? Would you like to see the proof? And she said, tonight? And he said, yes, tonight. So he takes her in her car to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he had the right clearances and the magnetic key card to go through one door that had an elevator. So they went down. There was another door with a magnetic key card. So he put that in there. That door opened up. That led them into an underground morgue, which you see here in this drawing by Rudy. And at the back wall of this morgue, there were multiple tiers of pull-out drawers. So he asked her to go ahead and pull out one of these drawers. And what she saw was an alien body about 4 feet tall, oversized head, oversized eyes, slit for a mouth, minute nose, in a body bag, half zipped up. And she was startled, absolutely startled at what she saw. I mean, she could not believe what she was seeing here. Now, when she came back and then began to start the job, she went to work that Monday after the 2 weeks was over, and she asked to see Mr. Kern, and she was told by the secretary that Mr. Kern died of a massive heart attack, and there was no reference of him dying in the local obituaries. This guy completely disappeared off the radar screen. So this is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, 1974. And again, they have got the evidence, they've got the bodies. We'll go ahead and move on to the next case here. Okay, interesting case. So this comes via this book, The Koyame Incident, okay? And the authors are Noe Torres and my good friend Ruben Uriarte. This is Koyame, Mexico, August 25th, 1974. Now, a Cessna 172 took off, was heading southbound across the Texas-Mexican border, And then there was a UFO that was heading northbound. And as you can see here in the front cover of this book here, there was a midair collision between the 172 and the disc-shaped craft, and they both crashed southwest of Presidio, Texas, across the Texas-Mexican border at a location called Coyame, Mexico. And we'll move forward here. This might be a little bit hard to see here, but the unknown object was tracked going 2,530 miles an hour at an altitude of 75,000 feet. It dropped down to the altitude of where the 172 was flying, heading north toward Texas. That's the direction that the craft was heading. Now, if you look on the right-hand side of this map, you'll see Presidio. And then if you look way off to the left, lower left, you'll see Coyame, Mexico. That's where the midair collision took place. Okay, so we'll move forward here. Now, while all this is going on, the National Security Agency and the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, they were monitoring the Mexican troop military radio chatter. So they had a handle on what was going on. They were monitoring all this. And they actually had a satellite over the area where this craft came down. They were monitoring all this. So they had a bird overhead. And what happened was the Mexican military troops got to the crash site. They loaded this disc-shaped craft that was about 16 feet in diameter and about 5 feet tall, according to Rubin in the book here. And you can see this convoy had a Jeep up front. There was an 18-wheeler tractor-trailer lowboy, which they had the disc-shaped craft on top. And then there was another troop transport behind the 18-wheeler tractor-trailer lowboy. And then all of a sudden, I have to stress this, all of a sudden, the convoy stopped dead. All of these vehicles just completely stopped dead in the desert. And there were Mexican troops that were slumped over on the driver's side of the vehicle onto the steering wheel. Some of them were out of the vehicles laying on the ground with their helmets off. Others were laying on the desert floor near the back wheels of the troop transport. They were all dead. Something happened to these Mexican soldiers, and the United States government knew about it. And what they ended up doing is they flew in 3 UH-1 Huey helicopters and 1 CH-53 Sea Stallion to the operation. They all had biohazard suits, biological hazard suits on. They had masks on, and they stole this craft out from under the nose of the Mexican government, which are the blackest of the deep black programs within the United States government. They actually stole this craft. Where did it go? Again, this is a drawing by Rudy Gardia. Where did it go? So let's examine this. So we've got the crash retrieval. They had satellite over the operation. They knew what was going on. They were monitoring the radio traffic. They brought in these helicopters. 3 Bell UH-1 Hueys were brought in. They brought in 1 CH-53 Sea Stallion, and then they flew these. This is important. They flew this craft from the CH-53 to Atlanta, Georgia, which is the CDC headquarters. So it appears that there was some type of biological agent associated with this UFO crash retrieval, and that's what caused the Mexican soldiers to just die off completely and were laying on the desert floor. Next one, very controversial case, very difficult to pin this down, but George Filer was there the morning that these UFOs were seen. So this is McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix. This is January 18th, 1978. Source UFO crash retrievals, page 131 by Leonard Stringfield. Very controversial case, but a part of the UFO crash retrieval history. So let's find out what happened here. There was, and I've got the map. If you look here, you've got Fort Dix off to the right. Off to the left, you've got McGuire Air Force Base. So at night, there was an MP who was making the rounds around the perimeter fence line. If you look at this, X marks the spot here. This is the approximate area of the incident, and this is on the Fort Dix side of the joint base here. So out from the darkness comes this 3.5 to 4 foot alien body, and this military MP pulls out a 45-degree pistol, caliber pistol, and shoots this being. It was injured badly, climbed over the fence, and then you can see here, site of dead body. It lied dead near the end of the old runway at the McGuire Air Force Base site of this joint facility. That's essentially what happened, and you can see the map here. Now we'll move forward here. This is a Google overhead aerial image view from maps, and you can see Brody Road. This is the approximate location of where this incident took place. And I'll move forward here. Now you can see the drawing by Rudy Gardea, what he's done here. So on the bottom, you can see the MP pulling out the 45 caliber Magnum pistol here, shooting the body. He climbs over the fence, and then he dies on the McGuire side of this joint facility. Now, the next thing that happened is, according to the report, they laid a white kind of a curtain or some type of a tarp over the body. They sprayed the body with a preservation fluid. Then they built a wooden crate around the body. They put that crate into a large metal container, and then a C-141 from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base landed at the facility, opened up the clamshell doors. That particular container was loaded by a forklift into the aft end of the C-141 and flew it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So here's another example of where all roads appear to lead to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay, and here's the C-141 Starlifter that flew out the body and then brought it back to the facility here. So again, all roads lead to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Next case. Some of you might be familiar with Marina Popovich. So she was a Soviet Air Force colonel, engineer, and decorated test pilot, Marina Popovich. She's no longer with us, but she left a great legacy. And it was through her information that she got from the next gentleman that I'm going to show you here. She got this information regarding a very interesting UFO case that involved 2 MiG-23s. This is Major General Igor Maltsev, Commander-in-Chief of the Soviet Air Defense Troops. So Marina got the information from this gentleman. He's the source of the case I want to describe for you next here. And this is what it looked like. This is March 21st, 1990, near Moscow. There were 2 MiG-23s that were scrambled to intercept a 650-foot diameter flying saucer. A 650-foot diameter saucer. Can you imagine the size of this thing? And these MiG-23 pilots chasing after this. So this is a worldwide phenomenon. They cannot claim that they don't have the documented evidence, the gun camera footage. You know Russia has this just as well as we do over here in America. So the evidence is actually international in scope here. So let's move forward here. Again, March 21st, 1990, near Moscow, drawing by Rudy Gardea. What evidence do we have to back this up? Well, this is from the Miami Herald, July 8th, 1990. Soviets more serious about sightings. Now I'm going to go ahead and blow this up so you can see this a little bit better here. It says Maltsev also reported that jet fighters were scrambled and the pilots described a disc from 100 to 200 meters in diameter flying at speeds 2 to 3 times faster than their aircraft, Antonio Huneeus said. The general concluded the UFO had somehow, quote, this is interesting, come to terms with gravity, end quote, and that it didn't seem to appear to be a terrestrial machine, Huneeus said. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I like the terminology here. Come to terms with gravity. And this is a 650-foot diameter disc-shaped craft that 2 MiG-23s were scrambled after, going three times faster than their aircraft. No sonic boom. So who's got the technology? Who's building these? Where are they being kept? And why is this being kept from the general public? Multiple independent confirmation here from Russia. Now, this is another case. Reference 16, alien autopsy performed at Walter Reed Hospital. The cadaver was described as being 3 feet in height with a large head, protruding brow, sunken eyes, which wrapped around to the side of the face, very long arms, gray skin. Source, pathologist at the Cleveland Clinic via Dr. Stanley Tytko. Date 1952, 1953 from Kingman. That's the question. So this particular case came from the Leonard Stringfield dictation notes collection that I was able to access back in 2013. Now, here's the real question. We've heard so much about these extraterrestrial alien bodies. We've heard all these descriptions. We've got sketches. We've got reports from medical doctors. We've got reports from pathologists. What do these bodies look like? What is the best available sketch that we can put together from all these sources? What do these bodies look like? Well, I'm going to show you what they look like, and I'm going to show it to you right now. And this is the breakdown. What do they look like? Here's the bullet items. 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. 2 round almond sunken in eyes without pupils. Heavy brow ridge. Large hairless head by human standards. No earlobes. No definitive nose. Small slit for a mouth. Very thin neck. Small torso wearing a metallic flexible garment. Arms described as long and thin, reaching down to the knees. Hands have 4 fingers without thumbs, slight webbing. Short and thin legs, no toes. Skin color, beige, tan, brown, tan, pinkish gray, and even this powdery white color that looks like baking powder. We've just described that in the 73 case as we started here. So let's go to the drawing. Let's see what Rudy can give us based on all of the available information. And this is it right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best available sketch that we're going to get. It's probably not going to get any better than this. So this is the source as a medical doctor / specialist who performed an autopsy on an alien cadaver in the early 1950s. Source UFO crash retrievals, page 46/47. And that's where you can get the information on where we detailed this sketch from. And you can see this oversized head, oversized eyes, slit for a mouth, minute nose, emaciated body, elongated arms, no opposing thumb, and then webbing between the fingers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our best available sketch that we can put together. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next case here. Now, we've heard so much information about the Vatican and how the Vatican has all this top secret UFO research that goes back hundreds, maybe thousands of years. They've got documented evidence. Is there anything to back this up? And can we put together a drawing to take you inside the Vatican and show you what they've had? We know they've had a massive library here, an archive at the Vatican. So this is UFO Crash Retrievals, page 201, where they talk about something called the White Book, where in this report, it describes that the Vatican in Rome, at Vatican City, in St. Peter's Basilica, they have a recovered UFO craft. That's one thing. And then the next thing is they have something called the White Book, which is a documented evidence report of mankind's interaction with extraterrestrials over the past few thousands of years. Wouldn't that be something to look at? Now, what I want to do next is I want to take you inside the Vatican secret archives. What would they have? What did they retrieve? What did they get over the last few thousands of years? What are they keeping from the public and the world? What secrets do they have at the Vatican? Well, let's go in here. Let's see what we can find if we go inside the Vatican. Now, here's the drawing by Rudy Gardea. And what you can see here, we've got the Pope here. Off to the lower right, we've got the treasure chest with the Inca and Mayan treasures. In the background, off to the right, you see an Olmec head. Off to the right, you see these old books. And then up on shelving, you've got scrolls from the Library of Alexandria. If you look to the left, we've got more scrolls, more books. We've got an Egyptian sarcophagus. And then above the Pope's head, we've got this UFO crash recovered. At least one UFO craft appears to have been stored in the Vatican archives. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have prepared for you this evening. There are more UFO crash retrievals to go. I'm constantly getting more drawings by Rudy and my good friend Joseph Wraith. So again, I want to thank you for your attention. And we will continue with this crusade. And I'm going to provide more information in upcoming segments within this series. Thank you very much.